Welcome you guys to this presentation of our Roadmaps to Success Education series. This year we call it The Journey Continues. Last year it was the education part, and now we're continuing on with our journey. And we'll continue to provide education to our members because we think it's important. Duck? All right.
I heard that just in time.
Okay. All right. Welcome everybody. We have coffee back here. We have some water if you'd like. And we'll get started. Our presenter today is Dr. Nadia Brown. She is the founder of Doyen Leadership. She teaches high-achieving women leaders how to harness the power of influence through clear, unemotional, and effective communication. I'd like to say I wrote that, but I didn't. She did. She is a leadership expert and corporate escapee, as some of us are. I am one of those. She is passionate about helping women become more authentic, confident leaders who take charge of their careers. She believes that far too many women have built their entire lives and careers around the concept of the glass ceiling. So much that they have taken themselves out of the game. Dr. Nadia believes that before female leaders can lean in or sit at the table, they must first walk in the room. She's the author of Leading Like a Lady, How to Shatter Your Inner Glass Ceiling, and she is based out of Phoenix, Arizona. There's also a website that's going to be available on our website to take you to her website to find out some events that she has coming up. Dr. Nadia is also a DPS member and a chapter leader in Litchfield, Avondale. And she's doing an amazing job with the ladies there. They all love her so much, as we do. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Nadia Brown.
How many of you look like this when it comes to public speaking?
All of us.
Great. And so what are some of the common fears that you have around public speaking?
Would anyone like to share one of their fears?
Forget what she's going to say.
Okay, we'll talk about that. That's a big one. We have some ways to
Like
cheat.
a block, and you're like,
Just go blank.
yeah, I'm blank, and I have no idea what my next words are supposed to be.
Got it. Okay. Going
That's my
blank.
biggie.
Michelle?
I talk way too fast.
Talk way too fast. Yep, that one's me too.
I would say that people will laugh and people won't laugh.
Right. No, you weren't supposed to laugh at that part. Got it, yes.
That's not funny.
That was a good laugh. Okay. But you know what I mean. Like,
Yes.
they won't get it. You know.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, kind of what she said, just that my message doesn't come across.
Right, right. So, okay. Anything else that's coming up? Anyone want to share? Or are you too shy? You're just like, I can't even do it. Okay.
Like, forget to stay on topic. You get either
Yeah.
questions,
Rambling.
jump all over.
Yeah.
Where did I leave off?
You go down that rabbit hole and wait a minute, now where was I? Okay. Leslie?
Mine was a little bit different. Mine was more about either being judged or giving the wrong information, being questioned on what you were, because I've actually had that happen.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're like,
Well,
you know.
That's a good
I
one.
wasn't prepared for that. Yeah.
Even though you do your research, if you're getting, if you're giving out the wrong information, it's.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anything else?
Fear of the objectional questions coming back, the negative questions.
Oh, yeah.
Similar.
And we'll share, because I am that crazy girl that likes to talk about things that make people uncomfortable. And then it's like, well, what about this? Anything else? All right, this is all good. And so hold me to task to try to make sure I touch all that. So we'll see if I remember. Like, Nadia, you forgot. We're switching cameras. So a little bit more about me. Debbie did a great job of introducing me, but something that many don't know is I am an introvert. I've been that way from day one. I know Leslie's like, absolutely not, there is just no way. I'm an introvert. I actually started my career in computer engineering. I was the IT geek complete with pocket protector, literally, I worked in a basement. So I was about as far away from doing what I do now as you can possibly get. So if I can stand up here and present and have fun doing it, so can you. So we're going to talk about that today. because it makes a big difference in being able to build relationships, being able to build rapport, being able to spread your message. It's a lot easier to spread your message one-to-many versus having a lot of one-on-one. I mean, who has time to have coffee dates all day, every day? I'm in a grade. I like meeting for coffee. Leslie, you get paid to do that. You don't count.
That's why I like that.
But for the rest of us, it's like, how can I make the most efficient use of my time? So if you were able to share your message and what it is that you do and how you help people and why you do it to a lot of different people at one time, that would be a great time saver, right? Like, you just saved me hours in my life. So that's some of the things we're going to talk about. And we are going to talk about some of the things that come up. So one of the topics that I've recently started sharing in my career is lies, myths, and stereotypes of gender communication. 3 ways that men and women communicate differently and how to use that to your team's competitive advantage. So I drive down to Tucson for this presentation. I'm all excited. I made sure I had lots and lots of coffee on the way down. And I get in this room and there are actually more men in the room than women. So that's a little bit of an anomaly for me because typically I speak to mostly women. And to some of the objections, now you have men that are looking at me like, I don't know if I really believe that when we're talking about gender communication. But the truth is, men and women do not communicate the same way. And if she's like, some of the men, their wives actually sent them to my class. They're like, you need to go to Nadia's class because you need help. But in that, how do you deal with the objection when I have a gentleman that's like, well, I don't know if being aggressive is a bad thing. Well, when you're a man, it may not be a bad thing. But if you're a woman and you're considered aggressive, you're also considered that oh so lovely B word. The one that rhymes with wicked witch, right? So how do you manage that? So those are some of the things that I talk about. And I have come into those situations where it's like, whoa, how do you deal with that? One, you smile with grace. And you just stand in your power. And I see that you disagree, and it's okay that you disagree. However, here's how we look at it from a woman's perspective in that particular scenario. When it comes to, like Leslie mentioned, just getting objection because I'm not really sure of what I know. And sometimes you know it, but in the moment of stress, your brain just went blank. Like, has anyone ever had, like, I think I just forgot my name. It happens. We're all human. One thing you can say is, you know what? Let me get back to you on that. And just set it up as a follow-up because we can't remember everything. We don't know everything. Things change so fast. And at the same time, when you're at the front of the room, you're taking that leadership role. You don't want to feel like someone just walked all over you, right? So there are just a couple strategies to handle that. And then just, just putting it out there like, I'm human. And I don't know everything. I wish I did, but I don't. And even when I don't, I just pretend that I do. But, so those are some of the things that we'll talk about today and address, okay? Any questions yet? You're all looking at me like, oh,
No, I think we're good.
I may have to request some coffee. So today we're going to talk about the power of public speaking for your business, the anatomy of a 30-second commercial. How many of you have your 30-second commercial down? You may have to put some of those to the test. Strategies to handle your nerves. Powerful opening body language and close. And then talking about your look because your look matters. She's like, oh, yes. So did you know that speaking is the fastest way to grow your business? Anyone in here looking to grow? You can do that in speaking. And it helps to build a know, like, and trust factor. So one of the things that happened for me is I was sitting in my office as I started my business. I thought I just wanted to build a coaching business. Any coaches in the room? Just one, two. Okay, so I'm like, yeah, let me just build this coaching business. And my vision for my business was I was going to stay at home in my yoga pants and t-shirts and just help women all day because that's just great. It's so novel and so giving and it's wonderful. And how many of you know that just didn't quite work out the way I dreamed? It's just a beautiful vision that never manifested. So in that, I hired a coach and she said, Nadia, I want you to go speak. Because she looked at me, she said, you belong on stage. Now, I questioned her sanity, but then I have to question my sanity in the fact that I hired her after she told me something crazy like that. Like, what was I thinking? But anyway, here we are on this journey of speaking. So I went from hiding out in my office, probably tinkering with my website, to being out in front of the room, to having several speaking engagements, to traveling all over the country. And then I woke up one day and I was like, you know what, this is fun. I would much rather do this than sit on the phone and talk to people. So it was one of those like aha moments. It was like really surreal. So one of the things that has happened is that has really helped to spread the message about what it is that I do, help me build relationships, and especially for an introvert, you put me in a room with a bunch of networkers and I'm likely to talk to 2 people, maybe. And on a really challenged day, I'll talk to the 2 people I didn't already know, you know? So how do you get it out there and build those relationships? Because a lot of you I met because I was somewhere running my mouth in front of the room. I mean, that was just really how it happened. So growing your business through speaking is an excellent, excellent way to speed up that process. Because we want to make the money, we want to hit our revenue goals, and we want to see the fruit of our labor as we're working and nothing is happening. So that is one way to do that. And before we close, we'll actually go through the anatomy of a powerful talk, how to put it together. So how many of you would like to do more than just a 30-second commercial? You want to do some more training and speaking? Okay, great. So you only have 7 seconds to make a first impression. 7. That's it. That's quick. Research shows that people, including me, all of us, we do it to each other and people do it to us, is they make 11 critical decisions about you within the first 7 to 10 seconds of meeting you. So most of those decisions that people have already made about you, they've made before you even open your mouth. And it's like, you know, we can say it's judgmental or whatever, but the truth of the matter is that's just how we're wired. That we look at someone and we start making judgments, and especially sometimes we don't even realize it. And it could be good. I like her. She just looks warm, and I don't know why I'm just drawn to Debbie in this orange and blue, and she's just so inviting, and I just want to give her a hug. Versus someone else, you're like, I don't like her. She seems kind of stuck up. Have you ever done that? You're just like, I don't know why. She's like, absolutely. It happens. So what happens when people make those judgments of us? Is one of our fears is that people will judge us. Well, I'm here to share with you, they will judge you. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. However, there are things that you can do to help that work a little bit better in your favor towards the likability factor. And one of those ways is how you look. But before we go really quick through just the 11 factors, how intelligent you are, your confidence level. Have you ever bought a new outfit? One that you were really like, oh my gosh, this is the bombs.com. And when you put it on and you walk into a room, you were just like, hello, ladies. That confidence level, it exudes, it comes out, and people are like, man, who is she? Others may be like, who is she? But it doesn't matter, because you feel good, you feel confident. And again, that was just on your outfit. When your hair is right, your makeup's just right. So these are the things that if your clothes, your hair, your makeup help you feel good, imagine how that confidence now impacts how other people perceive you. And I was talking to a colleague, and we were sharing about someone who was on stage one day. She was teaching a message, and they were like, Nadia, I could not focus on a word she was saying because of her outfit. I didn't see this outfit, but I can only imagine, I have a pretty active imagination, that it was probably a hot mess. So when you stand up in front of the room, how do you look? I don't like to wear heels, but I'm not very tall. So when I speak, guess what? I suck it up and I put them on. It also makes me feel more authoritative, and you just stand different when you have on heels. So again, you have that leadership, you're exuding that confidence. People look at you like, she might actually know what she's talking about. So those little things that you can do. Of course, as soon as it's over, like I have different heels for different occasions. I'm like, this is a 2-hour talk, this shoe. This is a 30-minute talk. Oh, I can get away with that shoe. Anyone else have time limits on your shoes?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We have some 10-minute heels.
I know, it's like from the car to the seat,
Yeah,
like how far
it.
do I have to walk? So looking at all of those different things, people determine your income level, whether or not you're heterosexual, all by just looking at you before you open your mouth. So again, your look matters. And are you taking the time to do a little makeup, to put on a little eyeshadow, to do lip gloss? I'm not a makeup girl. I would prefer yoga pants any day over a skirt. However, I understand that if I'm to be taken seriously, especially as a woman, there are just some things you just have to suck it up and do. So think about that, because it makes a big, big difference. So again, does your look scream irrelevant? Are people overlooking you and dismissing you because of the way you look? When you think about walking into the room at a networking meeting, and sometimes it's not just the clothes that you have on, but also when you look frazzled, because you have a look. You have a confident look, you have the frazzled, I'm so lost look, like, excuse me, may I help you? To the, I'm here, my body's here, my mind is somewhere else look. Again, what does that say? Because it's hard to build authentic relationships when I feel like I'm talking to Leslie and I'm sharing these exciting things that I'm doing in my business, and she is at home somewhere going through her mental checklist. Did I turn the iron off? Did I remember to turn on the crock pot? Did the dogs go out? What, did he pick up the mail? I need to text my husband. Like, all these things are going through her head. She's not there. Can anyone tell when someone's clearly not listening to you?
Yes.
Anyone married? You're like, oh God, that's my husband. That was the first person that popped in your mind. Like, my husband, girl, my husband doesn't listen. So again, your look matters. Making sure that you're focused. If you're going to networking meetings or any type of meeting, and you know you're going to be like super frazzled and you need time to get yourself together, get there early. When you're speaking, get there early so you can check out the layout of the room. You can change things around and make it flow better for you, so that you kind of have a lay of the land and you're not just feeling like, huh, I'm here, because people can pick up on that when you're just like, out of control. So your look matters. Taking time with your look, even if it's a simple step it up, nice jeans. I'm not the fashion guru, so I won't even go there. I hired someone. I was like, girl, I need help because I'm a hot mess and I can't. Girl, I was.
I want to know who you hired.
We'll talk. I think we got a couple different people we can refer you to. Because we get up at these networking meetings or different events, or even when you're speaking, you have that blur when you talk about yourself. How does that go? Because it's like, well, what do I say? And there's only 30 seconds, and can I say everything that I do in 30 seconds? I want you to write this down. It's not about you. When you are sharing your message and you're telling people about what it is that you do, it's not about you. It's about you telling them how you can help them or help someone that they know. So that gets it all out your head, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? You still need to know what you want to say. So one of the things I want you to think about is, what is it that you do? How do you serve? What are the results that you help people get? And just jot that down really quickly. I want you to write down what makes you unique. Because although we're all women, we're all different. Some of us extremely different, and that is so cool. That's what I would call your it factor. So what makes you unique? Why would I hire you over the lady sitting next to you? Because you know how we are as ladies. It's like, but that's my girl. I want to hang out with her. I want to do business with her. I want to have coffee with her. And we refer people that we like, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you build up that like factor? How do you let some of your personality shine? How many of you have ever been to a networking meeting or an event or whatever, and you felt like it's time for me to talk about myself, but I don't want to be myself? I need to kind of hold back. Anybody? Oh.
I'm not sure what that means.
Well, I'll put it this way. So for me, I use words like hotmess.com. But there may be a time when I get up and I may speak and I may feel like, maybe I shouldn't be that.
Oh, I see.
Maybe I should be Dr. Nadia, all stiff and formal. And clearly, that's so not my personality. So do you feel those times where I need to fit in this little teeny tiny box? And that is so not me. And then how do I feel? feel like. And people feel it too. They're just like, I'm not quite sure why I'm not feeling her, but I'm just not feeling her. It's because you're not feeling yourself. You stuck yourself in this little box. So in putting together, so does everyone have the result that they help people achieve? What is it that you help people achieve? Anyone want to share?
I'm really passionate about helping people with personal growth and choices in their life.
Okay, awesome. Anyone else?
Feeling better about themselves.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Mhm.
We like feeling good.
New career, increased abundance and finances.
We like more money because we like shoes. Well, I do. I like shoes. Anyone else?
Well, in my background, I help them create more time in their day.
That's
Free
good.
up the time that they can do something else that might be more important or more pressing in their business or even at home.
Right, okay, that's awesome. We all need more time, clone ourselves. So how many of you, when you start your 30-second commercial, you start with that? She's like, sometimes. Anyone else?
No,
She's like,
it's
no.
the end.
It's at the end. But what if you were to help people feel better about themselves? What if you were to start and say, good morning, I help women feel better about themselves.
I love that.
I'm like, what? What do you do? And then something that's unique about you. And then end with your name. Because now I remember what you said first and I remember what you said last. Debbie helps women feel better about themselves. And I need a boost of confidence because I'm just feeling like a hot mess right now or whatever that is. It sticks. Now, I will admit, I'll be honest, I'll be transparent. I've taught this, I've been taught this, and it's still hard to do because your brain is trained. Hi, good morning, I'm Dr. Nadia. And it's like, crap, that wasn't how that was supposed to go. So just give yourself some space and grace to practice. A great place to practice is your GPS meetings. You're surrounded by women who love you, support you, want you to do well, can give you feedback. And it's okay because we meet twice a month and you can try it again. So switch it up and see what feels right for you. But when you lead with the benefit, it immediately tells people how they can either use your services or they start thinking about people who they can refer to you because now I know exactly what you do and how you help women. You know what, Debbie, I have a friend, she just had a baby, she's going through that whole after baby thing, I think she needs some love. Boom. It makes it really easy. I don't have to think about it, I don't have to guess, I don't have to connect the dots on my own. So just test it out before you just look at me like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Anyone else want to try one? Any other results?
I help people build financial houses.
Ooh. Tell me more about your financial house.
Well, you have to start with a good foundation. And so we work with that, we're starting with the foundation, building the walls, and putting up our roof before we put in the windows, you know, in the doors.
That's good. I like that. It's intriguing. See? So just leading with that. So again, test it out. See how it goes. And report back to me. So I think I have everyone's email address in here. I'll check with Debbie. So making sure that you answer the question of what's in it for me. That's WIIFM. Because we're all selfish. I know we try to act like we're so noble, but we really are selfish. So how do you answer that question for people? What results do you provide? What do I get by working with you? Or how can someone that I know in my network benefit from working with you? So answering that question. And again, remembering it's not about you. So a lot of times we write our commercials, it's all about us. I'm Dr. Nadia, and I do this, and I have this, and I still haven't answered the question of why should I care? And I know it's sometimes harsh, but that's the reality. So just thinking about your 30-second commercial in how can you answer the question of what's in it for me? No matter which order you put it in, because you're like me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do this, no. Just answer that one simple question. So whether you say your name first or last, doesn't matter. Just answer the question of what's in it for me. Any questions yet? Awesome. So, on your feet. this a lot.
I know.
Because again, you get nervous. You're going in front of a room, whether it's 10 people or 300 people, and it's like, oh my gosh, everyone's gonna be looking at me. What if I trip and fall? What if I forget my lines? What is going on? So, one of the things that you do first, before you go into any stressful situation, but particularly before speaking, is you take your power pose.
Okay, hold on.
This is my favorite power pose. There's research by Amy Cuddy, there's more, but this one is more sassy than them all. And what research has shown is that when you do a power pose 2 minutes prior to going into a stressful situation, which for most of us, we already said that speaking was pretty stressful, like I'd rather die. It's pretty far up there. If you do that, a couple of things start to happen. Your testosterone goes up, which is your confidence hormone, so we want some confidence, right? Your cortisol goes down, which is your stress hormone. It's also the hormone for belly fat, so we want to do
Double duty.
yeah, double duty. We want to get rid of as much cortisol as we can. And some other things start to happen. So physiologically, all these things are going on in your body, and all you're doing is just standing here. And if you can sing, I can't sing, so I never do this part. You can sing. I won't sing. But you start to feel confident. Like, how are you feeling right now? You're like, I see you, like, super sassy. Like, what's up? So you start to feel more confident, but then other people also start to feel more confident about you. So in Amy's research, they found that when the group that did the power poses before going into these situations were more likely to get the job, more likely to get the vote, more likely to get the contract, versus the person that was sitting there prior to going in, hunched over on their iPhone, checking their email, updating their Facebook status, reviewing their notes, or whatever. So this is one of those act as if until you become it. Because we don't fake it till we make it, because fake it is phony, and we're not phony, we're authentic. So this is just that cheat sheet, because now it helps you. And then just take a deep breath, because deep breaths help to calm all the jitters, because you're like me, my hands start to shake, and my voice, I start talking really fast, and I may even start sweating, you know how stressed out I am. And none of that's a good look, because you don't want to the sheen, we're women, we're like, I'm going to be all shiny, and that's not going to be cute in my pictures. You can have a seat. So this is one of the ways that you can help deal with the nerves. Another one is when you come to remembering your points, is see if you can come up with a snazzy acronym. Something really easy. So one of the acronyms that I use is roadmap. I know how to spell roadmap. I hope that while I'm up here I don't forget. And each letter stands for something different. So if I'm giving a talk, especially with technology, say the slides don't work, now what? I remember that my talk is about the roadmap and what the roadmap will do for you. And so I can confidently step in front of the room, even if I didn't have my slides, and say, R is for responsibility, and talk about that one. O is for opportunity, and just go. So is there a snazzy little acronym that you can come up with? It doesn't even have to make sense. It doesn't have to be all sophisticated. It just has to make sense to you, that you can use in your business to just really quick talk, really quick points that you can share. Debbie, you're giving me a look.
Yeah, I'm thinking of some of the acronyms that
Oh, that's your focus look. I was like, I'm not quite sure what that one is.
yeah.
But a lot of times when we're out networking, and I know we've all come across this where the speaker isn't there, and I'm a big proponent about being prepared, and someone said, well, how do you do that? How do you know to gear your talk when all of a sudden, Leslie, you're up, like we did last week? And I've just come in to answer the questions, who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? How do you do it? Just answer those questions, and as you're answering it, you're gearing it towards the group you're talking to.
Yep.
And that has worked great for me because I'm, with the networking, again, in my group dealing with, women entrepreneurs, am I dealing with a group of electricians and plumbers? So I'm tailoring my speaking to.
Absolutely.
So that has worked wonderful.
That is amazing. Other tips are pick a talk, because I know some of you raise your hand, you're like, I want to do more speaking. And so when I started speaking, I was like, oh, I can talk about all these things. I had like 6 to 8 of them just listed out. I could do this, and I could do that. But like Leslie said, what if someone called me and said, hey, Dr. Nadia, I want you to come tomorrow? What? Because I need time to pull all this stuff together. And of course, they're going to pick the one you're not ready for. That's just like Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
So she's like, yeah, oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
So what I did was I picked one talk. What do you talk about? Leading like a lady, how to shatter your inner glass ceiling. That way I have 5 steps. I can get up and I can talk about those steps all day long. How long I got? 30 minutes, 2 hours? You tell me, I can work it. Because again, you can, and then once you give that talk 18 million times, it's like you know it by heart. You switch out the story, so you never really give the same talk twice. You can talk about different experiences. And that's one of the things I want to talk about too, is a little early, but even props. So how do you use props in your talk to make it more engaging? One of the things that I have done are my big pink sunglasses. Almost to the point I think I'm becoming known by these. But again, it's engaging. So when I talk about vision, I'll put these on. People are looking at me like, did she just put on some crazy sunglasses? Like, what just happened here? So it's a fun way to keep your audience engaged. People are now laughing, hopefully for all the right reasons. And you can keep that level of authority and fun along with it. Another thing is just grabbing the paper. So I recently gave a talk, and I had the Wall Street Journal. It was an article. It was relevant to the talk. But again, when you think about the authority at the front of the room, someone walked in there like, just this morning in the paper, I read X, Y, Z. You're like, what? Because of course, I didn't have time to read the paper this morning. I was trying to pull myself together. So what are some of the ways, to your point, that you can always look for ways to be prepared, to have stories to share to go with your different points? Because it just makes it more engaging. You're not giving the same exact talk every time, but the basic structure and framework are there to keep it simple as you look to grow your business. And you get known for that one thing. Like, people know that I wear pink and I talk about glass ceilings. Like, that's what I'm known for. Even if I talk about some of these other things that I talk about, it all goes back to this one thing. And that's because for a year, that's all I talked about. But it made my life so much easier. And I could get last minute calls and be okay and feel confident. Because again, this is the same talk. And again, you will get tired of giving your talk long before we get tired of hearing it. So just stick with it. Go read a book and get some new stories, but you don't need to switch it up, trust me. Uh-oh, that's the wrong button. Beware of your nonverbals. So we did the power pose, but remember that 93% of our communication is not in the words that we use. So just like Debbie was sitting here, she didn't say a word, but she had a look on her face, and I was like, not quite sure what that means. So I need to ask the question.
I went somewhere else.
She was like, I just left the room. So again, are you communicating what it is that you want to communicate? Is every part of you, not just the words that are coming out of your mouth, but are you communicating that you're confident or that you're excited? Have you ever heard someone say, I'm excited? You're like, what? I'm confused. Where's the excitement? Versus, I'm excited! Woo! Who's excited? Right. You're like, oh, that girl is crazy. Paying attention to your nonverbal communication is so important. When you're speaking, when you're having those difficult conversations with people on your team, when you're sending emails or things like that. Pam and I had an instant, we were communicating via email. That is not the best medium of communication.
That's true, I had to call him and say,
Where you going? Just happened. I'm like, oh my gosh, no! But again, if she had called, or we hadn't had that conversation, and we just went off assumptions based on whatever, because I don't know what kind of mood she might have been in when she read my email. So again, just paying attention to those things. And even with our nonverbals, because if we don't have a relationship, I have a relationship with Debbie. So I know that that face isn't a normal face. But if you don't have a relationship with someone, you're like, now you're taking that face and you're applying it to a face that's in your past. And that may be the wrong face to match it up with. That may be the wrong message. So if you're able to keep yours, when you're presenting, keep it aligned so people aren't confused about what's going on right now. So again, paying attention to your voice inflection, the words that you use, your body language. Are you standing? Are you slouching? Are you pouting? Are you smiling? All of those things make a big difference. I know, Michelle, if I can pick on you for a second, we were in our chapter meeting and we were just practicing our commercials. She gave a flawless commercial. Our only feedback was smile. Like, we know you and we like you, but she was looking so mean, so I was like, ooh. I was a little nervous, like, wow. So just little things, something as simple as that. It doesn't have to be super deep. So just paying attention to your body language. Some of your power poses. So over here with Oprah, those are the other power poses, but I'm like, this one is just so super sassy. And then paying attention to this one because what they're, so she's in a power pose, but he actually took the lower pose. So although a lot of times they'll say that we mirror other people's behaviors and their body language, a lot of times we don't. So if you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you might be a little intimidated or it could be intimidating, just pay attention to your body language. Are you kind of shrinking back? Are you making yourself smaller? Are you taking up less space in a meeting? Take up more space, spread your stuff out, put your arm on the back of the chair. I know it's like, what? That's so unladylike. It's a power move. It really is. And it's not a bad thing, it's just exerting your power through very simple ways. And people they just respond to you differently. They're like, I don't know why I just like you, but I do. And I feel confident in you as a leader, and I trust that you know what you're talking about as the expert. All right, anatomy of a powerful talk. So one of the things that you first want to do is you want to have a powerful opening. Because if not, people have already wandered off. It doesn't take us long to be gone. It's like, I'm on Facebook. What just happened? So what are some of the ways that you can, as soon as you take the stage, so to speak, you can grab people's attention? That could be a question. Did you know that over the 40 years of a woman's career, if she has a bachelor's degree or higher, she loses $713,000? Did I just get your attention? Right. You said, what? 730? What? Like you're trying to do the math. What are some other powerful statements that you can make? A powerful opening. Grab someone's attention. That's related to what you do.
I just thought of one while you were talking for me, and that is that I have a superpower.
Right. So I'm like, tell me more.
So when I spend an hour with you, when we leave, I will tell you something about yourself you never knew before.
That's juicy. Because people are want to know, like, I want to know. We just knows it. We want to know. Like, and then it's almost a dare, too. So it's a little of our ego.
I'm
Like,
going to have this.
tell me something. Like, how are you going to tell me something? I've been with myself for 30-something years. I just met you. So, it's a little ego, too. But it's a little intrigue. Like, I know for me, I'm like, what does she know that I don't know? I need to know it. Anyone else?
A lot of people open with a joke.
Girl, not me. Because I would be back to Pam's. So if you're confident, go for
I
it.
don't.
A lot of times they don't work.
Sometimes they don't.
Right.
That's where you have the no laugh situation.
Yeah,
Right. We're like,
You're not supposed to be funny.
crickets.
Yeah.
Was that supposed to laugh at that? So yeah. So again, find what works for you. Just because other people open with a joke, I know, girl, please. I'm the one that jacks up the joke and I'm already cracking up before I got to the punchline. Then I forgot what the punchline was. It's like, girl, that's just a mess. So no jokes for Nadia. Anyone else? Okay. So another one is if you, depending on the newspaper, again, I know, it totally ties in. And now I'm standing doing my power pose. I'm taking a deep breath with everyone else. And now my nerves are calm, and now I can go on. So whatever that is, and everyone, of course, is still looking at me like, why are we standing up with our hands on our hips? And people, well, we women, we really love putting our hands on our hips. Did you just give me a reason to put my hands on my hips? I love it. So engaging Michelle.
I was going to say that in my business, numbers seem to be very effective. Like for me to come out and say 69% of fires happen unintentionally in a restaurant. Well, then all of a sudden I realized that somebody yells out, "You mean 31% happened intentionally?" And I thought, oh, I never thought of it that way. So I get them at least thinking beyond what I'm just saying. So I was like, oh, these numbers are working. All right. Because I'm up there jittery thinking, okay, I got to say 69 and my next statement's 44%. I don't want to say my numbers wrong because I have so many of them in my 30 seconds. And then I'm like, oh, they are paying attention, it's
Yep.
processing, because I didn't think of that. So I was like, okay, numbers do work.
Or just picking one, because if you pick too many, then we get frazzled, and then
Mhm.
people like me just like get lost.
Mhm.
'Cause they-
I would like to see her change that around one day, because I've heard it enough. I would love to see her come in and say, do you know that 31% of restaurant fires are intentional?
Mhm.
And see what reaction you get from that.
Ooh, yeah, you should try it our next meeting. Leslie hasn't heard it before. What?
Well, if people start hearing the same commercial over and over again, they tune it out.
They do.
So you have to say something different, always, or
You do.
nobody's gonna hear.
Well,
just
it's also
gonna
how you learn about the other people's business.
Yes.
Like, there's a gal in one of the groups that does draperies and all sorts of stuff. I had no idea she did patio furniture either till I actually went to her warehouse. And I said, well, why don't you ever say that in your 30-second commercial? All I know is you do pillows and couches. You've never mentioned patios. I'm like, you have to talk about your other stuff. You only have 30 seconds. You have to switch it up a bit. You can't just tell
Right.
me the same spiel, or I only
Yeah.
think you do the same thing.
Right, especially in groups where we interact a lot. Because we think we know everything. It's like, you do what? So one thing I shared was, when I started out, I worked a lot with corporate, and then I had women who were like entrepreneurs saying, hello, what about us? What are we, chopped liver? So then I had to say, well, guess what? I work with entrepreneurs. Of course, it took someone banging me upside the head a couple times to get my attention. But to Michelle's point, it's like if I just kept talking about my corporate talks, no one would have ever known that I now work with entrepreneurs. And, we help put together talks and deal with all these wonderful things. So, next are engaging stories. We love facts and figures, but now if I tie that fact and figure into a story, you really have people hooked. And it's sometimes difficult, especially for women, because we don't like to talk about ourselves. However, a lot of times, people want to hear your story. And no one can tell your story like you can. That's another thing that makes you unique, your story. And I don't care how many times I would read an autobiography about Debbie, I could never tell her story as good as she could. She lived it. I've never walked a mile in those stilettos, but she has. So being open to tying in those things to different stories, to really touch people, because it just draws them in and they want to know more. And then they come up to you afterwards, like what Pam was saying, I want to know more about, what is the secret that you have? I want to know more about the secret about me. So how can you do that to draw it in? And I know you have some really good stories about going on a date. Substantive content. I should change that word. I'm like, what? Too early in the morning for big words. Having no fluff. So there are stories, but how much the real content? Because when people come to talks and they come to workshops, they want to walk away not only inspired, but with some action steps. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It could be 3. Because there's only so much that we can absorb at one time. But giving them some juicy, some meaty content, some things that when you walk out of this room, when you leave here today, you know that you could go to a networking meeting and do a 30-second commercial and maybe run to the ladies' room prior to that and do your power pose and feel more confident, whereas you might have been a little nervous prior. That one thing, if I didn't share anything else, you have one thing that you can walk out of here that was really helpful. So what is that one thing that people can walk away with? Because again, when we're putting together our presentations, sometimes we just want to take everything that we have in our heads, all these years worth of school and life experience and certifications, and put it into one PowerPoint. We can't take it. So how can you chunk it down a little bit? Give us bite-sized pieces, but give us a little bit of meat to chew on. And then we have the invitation. What is that invitation? For many of us, that invitation will be to work with you in some way. Come see me afterwards, come visit my website, schedule a free consultation. You may even have actual product, schedule an appointment with me or purchase this item, whatever that is. But make an invitation. Or it could be just to try it out. Like my invitation for you is just to take one thing that you learned today and try it out. So the invitation doesn't always have to be, but make an invitation to challenge those listeners to do something with the information that you worked so tirelessly to put together to share with them. What does that invitation look like? But don't end on the invitation. Lift them up. Because sometimes people, especially when you're making a sales offer, people get a little squeamish. It's like, oh, no, we're talking about money and it's all weird and So get them out of the screen, and then lift them up so that they end on a powerful note. Don't leave them hanging. And then finally, we want to make sure that you have that powerful close. So after you've made this invitation, or if you're taking people on this emotional journey, because some of us have some juicy stories, you want to make sure you end up high. Everyone's cheering and laughing and crying and high-fiving. That's what you want. And then they can, take you up on whatever that invitation was. Any questions? So those are the pieces to putting together a powerful talk. One that people remember, one that people take action on, one that people will email you and say, when you said, and you're like, oh God, what did I say? Because that's me, like, I hope I wasn't like too out of the box. I was like, crap, what did I just say? But those are the elements, and they're not that hard to do. So, we're going to go to questions. I did it again.
So what's an example of a powerful close? So you've invited them to look at your website, or you've invited them to try the power pose. So that's a great invitation.
So one of the things that I've done in closing is a power pose. So sometimes I actually open with it, and then I'll say, all right, ladies, take your stance. And of course, everybody's jumping up, so like, whoa, we get to do it again. And then I have them high five each other. You are a powerful lady, or you are a doyen. And for those of us that really do it, play some music. Because now, if everyone's up on their feet, they're high-fiving, they're laughing, and you put on, that girl is on fire, like the room erupts. So what are because you, as a speaker, you have control over a lot of these elements. A recent talk that I did, we actually opened, this was the first time that I had done that, I opened with the song Happy. So again, people see Dr. Nadia, oh my gosh, I don't know what to expect, she's gonna be boring, snooze fest or what. And then I come up and we're like, happy, and I'm like, all right ladies, get on your feet, let's go. And they're all singing with me. Now I have their attention. And I'm like, what? What else is this crazy woman about to say or do? So those are some of the different elements, but you just want to, depending on what your talk is about, just bring them out of that, especially like when I do talks around not having powerful communication or talks, walking on eggshells, and then, we might get a little too introspective, like, yeah, I do need to have that talk. Get them out so that everyone is like happy again. We can high five, but you've already given them the steps that they need to address it when they leave.
What do you do?
What do I do? That's an excellent question. I made it so not about me. I didn't talk enough about me. So I do leadership development training. So a lot of what I do is this. I travel and I talk about shattering your inner glass ceiling, having powerful communication, and then around the gender communication piece. I also do some coaching, but mostly training. And that includes a speaker intensive, 2-day intensive for entrepreneurs that want to learn how I can do more talks to build my business. And I'm also hosting a 5.5-day retreat for entrepreneurs next year in San Diego. So those are some of the juicy things that I like to do. So that's what I do. But thank you for asking. Okay.
I just wanted to make a statement about you.
Okay.
That we came out to meet you for coffee one day to talk to you about being a leader and what that means to be a leader. Now, that seems a little nuts that we're going to talk about being a leader to someone such as yourself. But let me just say that during that conversation, you were so gracious and so open and really taking in all that we said, because I felt like you were just saying there's always room to learn new things. There's always room to expand yourself. So we weren't made to feel at all like this is something I already know, I teach this all the time. Who do you think you're talking to here? We felt like you were open, welcoming, ready to take all that we said and apply it to the chapter leadership. And I was really I felt very comfortable after that, knowing that you were so kind and welcoming and letting us in for all that, because I was very intimidated to talk to you.
Really?
Knowing your backgrounds.
Really?
Yes.
Me?
Who do I think I am talking to? A leader trainer about
Doctor.
Yeah,
doctor.
Just like when I talked to this lady over here about different things that we're doing GPS, Miss Coach thing. I mean, really. But she does the same thing. She takes my ideas and suggestions and very gently guides me in the direction she wants me to go.
We're not supposed to know that, I don't think. It's my superpower.
Be careful though.
It's just
She's like,
guiding.
Yeah, it's funny.
That is, thank you. I always think, I'm just Nadia.
I just wanted you guys to know that about her because I thought it's important that they
Thank you.
know that it was never, you were never making us feel or coming across to us all like this is something I already know. What are you telling me how to be a leader?
Oh,
Because
no.
you
There's so
are,
much more to learn.
and your chapter is lucky to have you.
Oh, thank
I'm sure
you.
your members feel the same way. Yeah.
Michelle and then, what's your name?
Jane.
Jane.
I have to,
Go ahead.
Go to Michelle first.
I just had a question. What are a few tips when, for my industry, I am like 1% female and the 99% male. What are some tips on how to be effective at all this when your clientele is almost always men? So here I am going to be talking about fire safety to a bunch of men who a lot of times think they
Know everything.
Why is he grinning?
He's like, oh boy, where are my brothers when I need them? So Michelle, I started out in IT. It was like young girl, just fresh out of college. Like I had every stripe imaginable. And one of the things is acknowledging the fact that they speak differently. And so that helps because when they respond a certain way, you don't take it personal. So my husband is an engineer to the core. And he helps me with that. Although he says I stole a man's handbook, I'm still a woman, I'm a Venusian, and it helps that I'm like, man, you just went out to Martian land, I don't speak that, bring it back. So that's one thing is you build those relationships to be able not to take everything personally and then to not back down. So not allow that to intimidate. Because one thing that I've learned, and I do this, is however we're talking about a topic and women tend to respond a little differently most of the times. Then you throw some men in the room and it changes the dynamics of the room. And men sometimes they're thinking or they have this expression and you're like, what? And so I found out that a lot of times that's the thinking phase. Like they're just processing what it is because we're pretty
very
quick.
slowly.
Yes. So, oh gosh, this is being recorded, but I'm gonna share this. So Toby, my husband, he just had to break it down for me. And he says, Nadia, I'm like a 386 processor. I need you to just give me some time. And for me, it just really helped because I can almost think about like dial-up. I can hear it playing in my head sometimes. So I just pause. Okay. But we're like, how you doing? How was the day going? Did you remember to call Bob? Did you call the plumber? And they're like, oh, what just happened? So just acknowledging that it's not a good or bad thing. They're just different. And a lot of times they are, especially when they're that analytical and they need to process. And
My husband will say, you say so much so fast. And I'm like,
Can I just mention,
But
Nadia,
I don't
if you
wanna
go to
say-
YouTube and type in A Tale of Two Brains, there's a little 5-minute video
that's
that a pastor does about, he's a marriage counselor. And have you seen it?
I haven't seen that one.
You have to see it because
Tale of two.
Tale of Two Brains, and I cannot think of his name because I'm old and I forget things. I remember that part, and it's so funny, but genetically, or I should say chemically, it's very true. We are wired very differently. We evolved that way, and men in general have a much better ability to focus in and laser into something. And as women in general, because it's very general, we're all different. We evolve thinking about many different things. We have to watch children, family, how we evolve. So it makes perfect sense. So I love that you said that because we are wired differently. We should respect that and know our audience and who to speak to. So please watch that. I'd love to hear your feedback about it. It's so funny.
Yep, and I think Pam hit the nail on the head. Just know your audience. Just understand that when you talk to us, you can rattle off all that stuff and we're like, oh, we're with you. And maybe not so much for that group. It's like one fact at a time. Okay. And just having that level of engagement. But the biggest thing that I see when I work with women is that we take it personal. And then we call them names. He's a bullheaded jerk and I don't like him. And that's not always the case. Like sometimes they're just a little slower than we are. You just have to give them some grace and speak at their pace.
I was going to say, I attended Dr. Nadia's Communication and the Sexes, and that power pose I've used now so many times. It is the best thing ever, because I give different talks for different groups, and if I'm tired or if I'm not like all there, I just do it, even in the spot, in the restroom, and it works like a charm. So it's the best thing.
I love
It's
it.
Everything.
It
is good.
I love
MC, you're going to a doctor's office.
You don't have to be stern. You can smile.
That's a very stern face.
I know. You have a scary pose.
That's the mom stance.
Sometimes you need that.
Sometimes you do. She immediately went to, what have you done?
I've done that pose before, and I was just going to tell Michelle, I worked in a male-dominated industry for 30 years. And so I was accustomed to being questioned or even downgraded in my opinions for things. And I learned one thing, to stand your ground, know your stuff, because you know your stuff. I've heard you speak before. She's very, very good. And nobody can argue with someone that comes from a power position of strength, knowledge, and confidence.
Yep.
And when you go in there, maybe I am a little stern sometimes when I would walk into those kinds of meetings, but I needed to arm myself.
Yes.
So that I almost was ready to do battle if anybody would. And then we're women too. And oftentimes I would go into my office to close the door and cry. Because,
Get it out.
yeah, because you can't do that
All the time.
all the time, or people get really tired of listening to you bawl. But you get it all out, you be the woman that you are, and you go back in there and get it fixed.
And it depends on the situation. So back to the workshop that Jamie's referencing, one young lady stood up and she was like, I'm in a meeting similar to this, and I'm one of the few, if not the only woman. And she finds that a lot of times when it's her turn to speak, the men take the power pose where they have their hands behind it, and it appears that they're like cold chilling. And I was like, when that's a power pose, it could be a thinking pose. So what you can do is stand up, because now you're in a power pose, and it changes the dynamic in the room. But not knowing the situation, because sometimes not always hostile, because I've given that presentation and the man was like, what? Like, he didn't even realize that by him, especially being a manager, taking a pose such as that, leaning back in his chair chilling, when people would come in to talk to him, that was communicating something. So a lot of times it's that they're not aware. So depending on the situation, just knowing that, and what can you do in those moments, whether it's standing up, sitting up, taking up more space, whatever that looks like. And then understanding that sometimes that's just, so my husband is one of 3 engineers. Both of his brothers are engineers, so Christmas dinner is always very interesting. And what they do, because Debbie reminded me of that, is with the questions. So, say for instance, hey, I'm going to start this new business. You best to be prepared for some serious lightning round. How you thought about this, and what about this, and what about this, and you're like, whoa, dude, like seriously, this was not that deep. And if you're not careful, you'll feel like, what's wrong with you? Like, now you have an attitude. But what I've learned is once you get past the lightning round, they're good. They're like, okay, you thought about everything. Let's go. And they like, you're still reeling from the emotional assault, and they're ready to plan. Like, let's just, to map it all out. So just understanding your audience. Like, I know if I have an idea and I go in with those 3 to prepare for just the emotional, knowing my stuff. They want to make sure that I'm prepared. So when I do go out, that it doesn't happen to where I get in a situation and I'm not ready. So again, just knowing your audience and being okay with whatever comes. Because when Toby and I first started dating, I didn't think we were going to make it. I gave him a 3-question limit. You have 3 questions. After that, you're done. I get a break. Any other questions?
I have one, because both Debbie's mentioned it and you've mentioned it, and that's that intimidation factor. And you've answered some of it just by doing the power pose. But what are some other things that you can do to, if you have somebody, because like Debbie said, she was a little intimidated by you. What are some of the thought process or one of the things that you can do then to get over that?
Of course, ask yourself why. What is it about this person that's intimidating you? Is it because she has this alphabet soup, or did I maybe give you some attitude, or like whatever that is? Because a lot of times it's coming from a past experience, and now we're putting that person through the ringer. So Debbie may have run into a sassier version of Nadia that was a little off the chain. She's like, I don't know how she's gonna take it, and so now she's looking at that. So just what is it that's causing you to feel that way? So just, I would say, take a step back and do some self-reflection. Because a lot of times we realize, oh, I remember when that time with Bob, and now I don't want to go through the Brown Boys interrogation process. Like, that's intimidating. So whatever that looks like, because now I know that that's why I'm feeling that way, and maybe I just need to tell myself a different story, or just give them a chance. Like, you know what? Just put the intimidation to the side, and I'm just gonna give them a clean slate.
It kind of reminds me, it goes back to that, you're making that critical decision, within those first 7 seconds before meeting somebody.
You are.
Okay.
You look like my cousin, the one I don't like. It's the truth, and it happens. And a lot of times it's so subconscious, you don't even realize it's happening until you take a step back, and you're like, oh man, why did I just totally give her a cold shoulder or whatever? It's like, oh, that's why. So just paying attention to those things. Did I see another hand?
On the other side of the intimidation, the intimidator, the person that people are fearful of talking to, a lot of times that person is aware of that, and they tell a story that brings them to a comfort level. Like something that they did that was goofy or silly, or a mistake they made, and people feel, oh, okay.
You're human.
You're
You
human.
did that very well right at the
right.
beginning when you said hot mess.
Yes, because I get it. People look at me like, where
You
she
made
think she
yourself
is?
vulnerable.
Yes. And as leaders, sometimes we're afraid to make ourselves vulnerable, but that's the one thing that helps people connect with us a lot of times. Is, you know what? I am human. I have bad days, I have bad hair days, I'm in a bad mood. I won't say what I was gonna think, there's a man in the room, but just work with me here. And all those things happen.
He's married.
And so, so Jim knows. But, and just letting people know. And I think sometimes as women, we feel like we have to be perfect. And we allow that need to be perfect, that perfection, and then we don't delegate. So now we're mad. We're mad because you didn't do it, you didn't do it right, or whatever that looks like. And just, you know what? The bed may not be made perfectly, let it go. Or that report is so much easier for me to now go in and make edits versus writing the entire thing myself. So what are some of those things as you're building your team and doing different things where you can let go of that need for perfection? And a lot of times that's just a fear. What are people gonna say? What are they gonna think? Are they gonna take me serious? So all that inner glass ceiling stuff starts coming up.
Okay.
Thank you so
I
much.
have one more.
One more question.
I work with a lot of business owners, and mostly men.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go in there, I not only am I a woman, but I'm a minority, which you can probably relate to. And I'm young too, so
Yep.
they feel like I don't have enough experience, so I don't know what I'm talking about. So what can I say or do even before or to them so they get past that?
Wouldn't it be kind of like what we talked to Michelle about?
That's just, so what are you meeting one-on-one, in a group, or
Mostly, yeah,
one-on-one?
business owners.
They're gonna make maybe 7-second decision, and then as soon as she starts talking to them, coming from a power position with their skill and their knowledge, they're gonna change their minds.
Yep,
So
start
maybe-
with the facts.
So maybe
Start with
to start out, they're gonna think what they think no matter what you do.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're young, and because you're beautiful, and you're a minority. But they're gonna see past that once you start presenting giving your position, talking about whatever your services are. That's gonna change, don't you think?
Yeah, and just showing how you can support them.
Mhm.
So I would say, especially in those situations, is start with the facts, skip the fluff. Like with us, you gotta warm us up, and so how are the kids? Skip all that
Yeah.
and get close, especially in the very beginning, until you build that rapport and you start to build that respect. Come in with this is what I do, this is how I do it, this is how I can help you, and then you can start weaving in more conversational type stuff. And so then at subsequent meetings, you can of course then ask how's the life, how are the kids, but you know.
An attitude.
Yeah, I have another question that I know a lot of you probably don't cold call. I cold call quite a bit. So how do you shatter the wall, not quite the ceiling, but that receptionist sometimes.
The gatekeeper.
Yes. You know, and I have like 3 seconds. When I've worked at a front desk, I know darn well when they open that door, I'm like, I know this person to a T, you know? And so how do I shatter that wall instantly where she's like, you know what, I am gonna put this on the right desk and it's not gonna go in the recycle bin below my feet. You know, that's something I deal with.
I know. Looking for, so answering the what's in it for me, how can you build that relation, especially if it's a woman, then you do like almost the exact opposite. Don't go in there talking about your services, what you have to offer. Girl, that is a gorgeous blouse. What? Because now you have more than 3 seconds because now you want to talk. We love to hear about how great we look. And then that opens the door to then, so you do the exact opposite of what we just told CT to do is start with talking about her, making it about her. How can you help make her life easier? So all of that, because then she will make sure stuff gets to his desk if she knows it's going to make her life easier. That girl, I will walk you back there. You want me to go down? Like I will clear it. So again, just how do you answer that what's in it for me? Help them break down that wall that I'm not just another salesperson, but I am Michelle.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Nadia. This was wonderful and